pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have 2 sets of minutes to approve.
Move to approve. Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the minutes, both the regular meeting and the special meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Approval of the agenda. Any additions to the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve. Second.
I have a motion to approve the agenda as submitted. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. First up, Mr. Breckner, aquatic nuisance species. Rich is with the North Dakota Sports Fishing Congress.
Well, here today I'm with the ANS committee.
Okay,
We
the floor is yours.
met back last September, then again in October, and then COVID kind of really took over for the rest of winter. So I'm back here to discuss wash stations with you and a joint venture with Benson and Nelson County. I met with Nelson County earlier this month, and they are still discussing the option. So I'm coming back to you to relive it and bring it back to the surface to see if the county is still interested in a joint venture between Benson and Nelson and wash stations located in, these are cold water wash stations, not the hot water decontamination. Game and Fish has that unit at their location next to Camp Grafton. But in the original proposal that was given out, if you remember, the state would provide the unit and they would provide up to $12,500 annually for staffing and things like that, but they would provide the equipment and materials to develop it on location of your choice. And of course, Stump Lake in Nelson County, they're going to be looking at a location down there towards Stump Lake. An ideal location here in Ramsey County would probably be just east of the rest area in that open area where past the old, what was it, a campground or camper disposal unit spot. East of there where there's ample land available and it's already in our state-owned right-of-way. There's already electricity and water there, so it's just a matter of filling it in and setting up the facility. Or if Ramsey County is not interested in joint venture with Benson and Nelson, would they be willing to take something on their own?
Ramsey.
So the state provided the equipment and the annual cost reimbursement, is that per station? Do we have a
Yes.
limit of how many stations?
Well, it's per sponsor.
So Ramsey, Benson, and Nelson, if they formed a joint, would they get one or would they get three?
They would get three. That would be the proposal. You can kind of write your own ticket. This is a little new ground for game and fish and the aquatic nuisance. I don't believe that $12,500 is adequate to even for seasonal help to do what would be required. Manning a location, having some individuals out there who would be there while boats or watercraft pulled in there for a wash and inspection, because they would be trained by Game and Fish on how to inspect the boat and so on.
Richard, let's talk about this 12,500 the state wants to throw into this project. That's for each station,
Yes.
and you're supposed to buy equipment?
No.
Or they're furnishing you?
They furnish the equipment.
This is for the labor bill?
Right.
The cost, what I'm reading here, 100% of the cost of the station up to 125,000.
Right.
Per station?
Yep. For location.
And how long do they want this operational during the year?
It's a season, so I would say you're looking at the summer season. Probably start late May would be most optimal and then run through October.
Did they decide that? Does the state decide that, or does the vendor
No, I
decide
think
that?
your vendor's gonna have to decide that. You're the ones that, or whomever takes it on would be the ones who finding the staff. And of course, that's gonna be,
We have to find the staff.
yes, you do.
Or the vendor does.
Vendor does,
Whoever would take that.
whoever takes it on.
How much of the official license do the county get sent? We must get part of that then.
A part of what?
How much of the fishing licenses they sell in North Dakota?
I don't know that the county gets any part of that.
But I mean, we should get some.
I don't see why.
You don't see why?
No,
Well, then this conversation is gonna last for long. We're not gonna fund this by ourselves.
that's what I said. I said, I've thought this program is way underfunded.
Way out
That's,
of funding.
yes, that's why I thought a joint venture between 3 counties, you would have more power, more pull, and more opportunity to negotiate just exactly what's needed. You're on the busiest lake in the state.
By
You have
far,
you have by far the most out-of-state traffic. So the amount of dollars here that are being offered really are not going to meet the qualifications or the requirements to operate.
So question I have, this 12,500 that they want to staff this, is this coming from the ANS?
Yes,
From the ANS fund,
Yep.
is that fund taking the money from all the boats that are getting, every boat that's licensed, there's a fee?
Yeah.
Is that part of that fee or is that on
Yes.
top of that?
yes.
That's where this money's coming from.
That's where the money's coming from. Comes from the fees that out-of-staters pay, $15 every year for their sticker, and the $5.
So does Canada Fish ever come up to you and actually give you an amount what they're receiving?
They're receiving about $1.5 million per biennium. But each of those wash stations that you're looking at are $125,000 apiece minimum.
And we have 0 in the state.
did they go to the
They're gonna
legislators this session? Have they been to the legislators this last session or not? This one that's ending?
Not with this was done last year already.
Last session.
Yep.
Yes. Last session.
So there's a pool of money built up, and that's where this money's coming from. And this is one of the proposals of ANS prevention within the state. And I've been on that ANS committee for a dozen years or so. Very passionate about keeping ANS out of our lake. We have a very pristine, world-class fishery that's free of ANS right now. I'm not 100% sold on this idea, Rich, though.
Okay.
Washing a boat before you get to a lake, I'd rather see them concentrate on waters that are already contaminated, and inspecting the boats that are coming from there, or somehow inspecting them before they get into our body of water. Just and having the wash stations staffed is a good thing. So you're not doing, semis in any vehicle off the road that happens to pull in there, because it is gonna be free, correct?
Correct.
Are we taking away money from the private wash facilities in our community?
No,
No?
no.
Yeah. Is there a better way, do you think, of preventing ANS, a better way to spend this money than a wash station coming to Devil's Lake?
I think what I'm getting from what you're saying, Jeff, you'd rather see inspection stations versus a wash station.
I would rather see something, either closer to the Minnesota border where there could potentially be coming across, before they have an opportunity to get close to Devil's Lake. Because we're not the only body of water that that could be infected. You know, the closer they get to Devil's Lake, the better chance that we're gonna have to infest our lake. But right now, zebra mussel are limited to the Red River, Lake Ashtabula, the south part of the Cheyenne River, and Lake Lemoore. So, and that's been our primary concern is keeping zebra mussel out of here. At least for the past several years.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course, we're bluffing ourselves if we don't think that there's another invasion coming here.
Right.
And we know it's gonna be. I mean, there are roughly 70 or 25 invasive species throughout the state of Minnesota. We have a handful here in North Dakota. So there are opportunities for more to be coming here. So this is not something that is designed solely for zebra mussels. This is a program designed for the long haul, 10, 20, 30 years, because as we live and breathe, there's going to be ANS, invasive species, coming to our area from the rest of America for continuing forever. So getting a program started now is really essential, whether it's on Lake Ashtabula. I think they have 3 locations already designed to be put in place and inspections there.
Those are gonna be mandatory. That's my thing, that I'm worried about this. I'm not saying that we don't need, I believe that we need something too. But if the state's not gonna make it mandatory that you get checked, how is this gonna affect? Are you just gonna have the local people using it? Is it gonna be mandatory that when you come in from the state, you have to go get checked? Just like us going to another state, I know when I fish in another state, they have stations, it's mandatory.
It's mandatory.
Well, and I mean,
Unless it's mandatory, it's gonna be very, very hard to control.
that's a good point too, because the people that, I mean, Minnesota lakes have all kinds of checking stations and washing stations, right? The kind of people who are gonna bypass those with aquatic nuisance species are likely not gonna pull over on Highway 2 to wash them out in North Dakota. And that's not me saying that there's nothing to be done. My point is you're likely already catching the people who care enough about this with the infrastructure that's in place. You know, how do you make sure that the people who couldn't be bothered to care enough care?
Well, I agree. This is not 100% solution now. But if you take a look at Minnesota, Minnesota's spending somewhere between $10 and $12 million. We have $1.5 million. Montana is spending $10 million. Wyoming spends $10 million. We don't have agriculture involved here. We don't have state water commission. We don't have tourism. We don't have any other agency except Game and Fish. Game and Fish doesn't have $12 million. So why we're doing it this way, or why it's starting this way, is because we established this fund, and this fund was designated to begin the process of protecting our resources as best one agency can do.
Well, to clarify, Rich, Game and Fish is the only one putting money in. Those other entities have a seat at the table at the ANS committee and have a voice at that table. And they all understand the impacts that ANS will have on the entire state. And they just haven't ponied up a lot of monetary resources.
Right. No, I'm not saying they don't
Yeah.
recognize the problem, but they're not in the play of this process of decontamination or wash stations
Yeah.
or inspections.
Do you have any idea what a wash station would cost? Because water and disposal of that water will be a big impact for the O&M costs.
Yes.
Have any idea what a budget?
I do not. I think Ben and their group do have those numbers. I sit on the same committee you do,
Yeah,
so I have the same information that you have.
Who's Ben?
Ben is the director or the head of the A&S division of Game and Fish.
She's with Game and Fish?
Yes.
I sat in on the, excuse me, sat in on the meeting when Game and Fish came last fall.
Right.
And I guess from my perspective, I'm not opposed to the concept. I think I think everybody up here is on the same page that we need to do something. My main concern is that if Game and Fish is serious about this, why are they coming to us and asking us where should we put stuff?
They're not, I'm coming.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Why aren't they coming up with a consolidated plan we're gonna put a station here, 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 and here. We're gonna back it with money, and then we're gonna ask the locals to come in and partner with us. Instead of just saying haphazardly, we think we should do this. And I understand where you're just coming to us because you see the problem and then it's not being solved. And I understand and I appreciate that you're bringing us that. And that's why I want to continue the conversation from our county's perspective and say, we want to do something, but we need more leadership from the top down, from Game and Fish, saying, we're going to fund it. This is where we need them. This is how we're going to do it. And then we can step up and say, we'll put some cash in.
Right, it's something, it's gotta be mandatory.
Yeah, I mean,
It has to be mandatory.
I mean, even if it's not mandatory, I think anything's better than nothing. And that at least you're providing the option for people to say, you know what, maybe I should go wash before I drop in. But at the end of the day, you know, all we're gonna do is decide, well, we should put one here, we should put one here. I mean, we're gonna try our best, but I mean, if they're serious about it, they should step up and say, this is what we want, this is where we want them, this is what we need from you with a proposal, and we'd be able to come with it and say, okay, we're on.
Come with a plan.
Yeah, and sitting in that meeting last October, it sounded to me like they know there's a problem, they know they wanna solve the problem. They just don't know how to get there because they are, I wouldn't say, what's the word I'm looking for? Concerned about asking for the money, essentially. Is what it sounded like. And I'm okay with, you know, if we can get a handle on the thought that it costs X amount of dollars and they're gonna throw in the money of at least starting someplace, and this is a start.
Right.
But I would like to see them with a more consolidated plan on this is how we think we should do it. You know, and that's where I'm kind of frustrated, because it shouldn't be you walking in telling us we need to do this. It should be Game and Fish walking through the door, coming in and saying, this is what we want to do. That being said, I appreciate that you come in and talk to us about it, because you recognize it's something that needs to be fixed
I have.
before
for
something
many
bad
years.
happens.
Yes.
So that's why I want to keep, I'm willing to keep walking on it forward, trying to do something, because it's better than nothing.
And really, that's all I came here for was,
I'm behind Adam, I'll help listen,
right.
but we're gonna get a better plan from the Game and Fish before we get in here. Cause I know exactly what Nelson and Benson are looking to do. See what we're gonna do.
Right.
Yeah, and
And maybe we can get something done with them if we have a better plan.
well, and a handle on, you know, what's it gonna cost us locally? You
Right.
know,
Right.
because $12,500 isn't gonna cover it. By the
Yeah.
time you start talking water costs and the time you start talking staffing costs, and it's gonna cost more than that. And I think we're all willing, we understand that the lake is a resource that we have to protect. So putting some of our money in to protect it, to me, is a no-brainer. But we have to have a viable idea of what it's going to cost us before we can step up to it, but that's why we need to keep the conversation going.
And it's gonna have to be a full-time
well, and
More than one.
yeah.
You're gonna have to have a few part-time people basically and run it
Um,
daylight to
position.
day, yeah.
I do know what one of the biggest shortfalls that they're having at Game and Fish is finding temporary workers up in the Devils Lake area for the summer, seasonal employees, to work just as boat inspectors. You know, whether they have them on certain ramps on certain days and stationed out of Devils Lake or somewhere within the area that they can, that, and they're also, I think, looking at contracting watercraft inspectors that could be trained through Game and Fish that could do some of this, because not every boat, I don't think, needs to be washed. But if you had an inspector, somebody that's trained to look, what to look for, and say, no, your boat needs to be washed, yours doesn't, you go ahead. Susie, how many boats do you suppose we get on a good day of fishing?
Thousands.
The thousands. So you would need a lot of wash stations to wash all those boats. And then to multiply that by how many gallons of water each boat is gonna be using, what do you do with that wastewater?
Yeah.
You know, wastewater, I think, would be create a real nightmare. But a lot of really good things to start thinking about. And, I think Adam and Ed are right, you know, we wanna get behind this, but we need to see a better, you know, idea of it. And since we're in that beginning stages of our budgeting process, you know, if that's something we need to add into our budget for next year, or find some wiggle room in this year's budget, you know, but again, I think we need to see a better idea from what Game and Fish has to bring to the table. Certainly 12,500 a year for staffing and O&M, I think would go by pretty quick.
Yeah, that's the first thing I told him was, you know, not even close to what we need in a market where there's this much traffic.
Well, I mean, you hypothetically, you're gonna have to stay open basically sun up to sundown. So you're talking what, 5 AM, 6 AM until 10 at night at least. You're talking 18 hours a day in the summertime. And to get decent summer help, it's gonna be what,
So you,
12, 15 bucks an hour? It's gonna cost a lot to rent
so I
something.
haven't, they went out to, like, I know I go to Fort Peck, and they have these wash stations. It's mandatory that you go in there, and it's only open an 8-hour period. Why hasn't our Game and Fish piggybacked off of something they have? That's what frustrates me, listening to, you know, the Game and Fish on this. Why haven't we went to something like that?
I do not know why they haven't. They're gonna tell you they don't have the dollars and staff to pull it off, but they have not, to my knowledge, gone to any other department in the state of North Dakota to partner up to do something like that, which is what's required.
And I'm saying to put something together so that it could be something like that. So we have, like you're saying, have an idea of what.
They have nothing at Garrison, is that correct?
No, not yet.
Nothing.
No, they will have this summer.
What are they doing there?
They're gonna
Same
put in-
plan?
Yeah, they're gonna put in a program just like this, yes.
I think where they're concentrating their decontamination washing efforts is gonna be Lake Ashtabula, the Red River, the Cheyenne River, Lake Lemoore, washing those boats as they come out, educating those, people before they go into that lake and let them know that, hey, you're in you're putting your watercraft into a contaminated
No, I
area.
understand all that, but Secaucus, they're not doing anything?
They're gonna have one at Garrison.
They've never had one.
No,
No.
they don't have any in the state until right now.
And I think that's where the concern is. We're so behind the 8 ball on this thing. It should have been, you've been beating the drum for years. This should have been a conversation. They should have came to us 10, 15 years ago.
We're extremely lucky, you know, that they haven't been discovered in our water yet. And you knock on wood and say a prayer that they don't be discovered soon. Because once you have them, there's no getting rid of them.
No.
They multiply quicker than you can imagine. And, you know, they become a real problem.
Yeah, Ashtabula's infestation today is roughly 63,000 zebra mussels per square meter.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Wow.
an
That's-
incredible.
That sounds like a lot, even though I don't know what a low number would be. That sounds like an awful lot.
And that's an increase from where they discovered
2 years ago.
3 years ago.
So they're unbelievably prolific once they get in the water then.
They're extremely prolific and, they create a lot of problems.
A lot of, from health hazards all the way down to, you know, your wildlife hazard, your pets are a hazard, and of course, algae blooms because they clean up the good algae and what happens after that is the blue-green. And now you're gonna have, you know, real health problems for pets and everything else,
You know,
and people.
so we certainly, you know, the education portion of, we need to continue that effort, you know. Susie's got some great marketing that they've been doing in Devils Lake tourism. Maybe we can, pick her brain on how to better market our ANS prevention strategies.
Ben and them have joined partnership with Minnesota and Montana and South Dakota on a massive media campaign.
Yeah,
And then that's going to be carried to local media as well, and then also down into your local print.
all right.
So they're putting a large amount of dollars into their awareness and education. And then of course they came to us and they say, you know, what would your county and what would your communities like to do? And talked to Jeff and Susie both when we had Ben on the line and looking at a education program where we designate a day at a car wash where we would teach people how to clean, drain, and dry their boats. Just an afternoon, but the only way that works is if we get media coverage, TV coverage. So we're on the 6 o'clock news and we're on the 10 o'clock news. Because if we're not there, no one's gonna know about it. So right now I have a car wash here in town who's willing to participate with us. I spoke to the Lake Region Anglers Association. I have some volunteers who signed up here last week. And I'm still sitting on the fence with not having a firm commitment from a TV station who'll say, yes, we're going to be there that day. And of course, I understand that they have, well, what if something comes up? And well, this is what the something that comes up when it comes to me. This is extremely important. And if we don't have media coverage, then it's a waste of our time.
How do we get that media coverage, Mr. Skinner?
Media coverage around here statewide has been a little.
We used to
tough.
have it just a few blocks away, now it's 175 miles away.
And I had actually mentioned too, on that call that, you know, if we couldn't get somebody to come over to Devils Lake for that, maybe it would be better to do it on the Missouri River or something, where they have the TV stations right in town and they could get multiple, organizations there at the same time to cover all of the different calls.
Well, Susie, I'm wondering if we could work with you and your media team, Tanner, your video, and do a wash station demonstration. We could have the whole thing as a 30-minute deal, or we could cut it into smaller segments and edit it into, you know, and blast it all over social media. You know, that may get us better coverage, Rich, than 6 o'clock news that they don't.
I don't agree. I think every form of communication we go out there with is you know, essential.
Yeah,
It should be beneficial,
yeah.
pamphlets.
Oh, yeah, we have already got the materials for handouts and items that bring it to people's attention. There's multiple, they range from leaflets that cover canoes, to pontoons, to wake boats, to jet skis, to fishing boats, to pleasure. They have a separate piece of material designed for every form of watercraft available. So all that material is right at our fingertips already.
I think these wash stations, you should put them at a business and have the business partner up with some of this. I can think of a half a dozen here in the community that I think would be very interested in doing something like that. But it's gonna draw people to their
Now they're
business.
gonna have to drive off the road to go to find a business to do it. I think you're better off on
Lots
highway.
of businesses right on Highway 2 that would be
When
interested.
I'm talking, I think you're talking like a car wash. That's already.
Yeah, or set the station up in one of these businesses that sell bait, sell booze, and food. I can't believe it wouldn't help their business. I'm not saying them do the washing, but get it close to them. So that everybody knows where it's at. They set it out at the rest area,
It would take a lot less money to do it.
yeah, they might partner with somebody. Ask them up, you know. For the county to take this on, it seems like, our purse strings aren't that large.
Oh, I agree, but then the loss of this lake is how much?
I agree with you. Have you talked to the city?
Not yet.
the end of the day, I think we're just gonna have to have some type of idea, you know, how much over and above that $12,500, if we committed to it, would we be talking, you know?
Good plan.
Yeah, and then if we have an idea, at least then we can shoot from someplace. Versus now it's hypothetically, we're all in favor of the concept in terms of doing something, but what's it gonna cost us? You know, I mean, I just ran, if it was only open June 1st to September 30th, which would be a season 8 hours a day with one person watching it, that's already $15,000.
Right.
I mean, you're already above the 12.5 just staffing it, not talking any water, not talking anything. The next question I would have, and it's, you know, if it was in town versus out of town, once you, I don't know, I mean, I know enough about zebra mussels, but not enough. If you get rid of an invasive species and it gets into storm sewer system or something like that, I would assume that all those things would be washed out in a treatment plant or something like that. You know, if you sat it in the city of Devils Lake, or would it have to be detached from the sewer
It
system?
would have to be detached.
You're gonna have to have your own drain field and everything put in as well.
Because it would survive in the storm sewer system by itself.
Yeah.
And what it lives on is moving water.
Well, there goes any chance to partner with a business unless they want to replace their.
Yeah,
field every
because
2 years.
well, if you're tied, and that's what I'm asking, so if you're tied into the city sewer system, septic system, and it goes out through them, if they still are gonna make it through that system, then you're gonna have to have a drain field, and you almost have to set it in a place where you could put a large enough drain field to handle the volume of water it's gonna take if you're consistently washing boats all day long. I mean, that's a lot of, I don't know how much water it takes to push every boat.
Or there would have to be some kind of chemical.
Or some type of chemical in the water that would kill it, yeah. And there's just a lot of questions that still have to be answered.
Minnesota must have those answers, I would think.
You would think, yeah.
Fargo, do they do it? There's anything up there?
And that, yeah, there's nothing in the state.
There's nothing in the
That's-
state.
This is basically a pilot program to show the need.
Exactly.
And I don't think any of us disagree there's a need. It's just a matter of how to get there.
So I guess in short, we're all still on board,
All right.
want more information.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
In short, yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Rich, we appreciate it.
Thanks, Rich.
Yep, you bet.
Susie Kenner, Devils Lake Tourism. Come on up.
Thanks for having me today. I talked with Jeff a while back, since it's the first time I'm coming to you with an update on what exactly you wanted to hear from me. And so I'm basically just going to give you pretty much the same update that I gave the city last night, so I apologize, Eric, you get to hear it twice. But if there's something that you would rather hear from me in the future, please let me know. If you have any questions while I'm giving you some updates, please let me know that as well. But as far as our 2020 goes, I should back up. In the packet that I gave you, there's a bunch of different marketing material that we use. First and foremost, there's the strategic plan. Our group got together back in 2020 and put together a 3-year strategic plan. And then the annual report is the one with the girls on the front at Whitehorse Hill. But back in 2020, our fiscal year runs from October through September, and our numbers were only down about $4,300 on the city side of things. So all in all, with the hit of COVID and everything, we actually fared fairly well for the year in 2020. We've collected now exactly 12 months of county tax collection, so it's actually a good time for me to be here. And as of the 12 months, we've collected $73,350 on the county side. So it's been a nice little boost of income for the visitors committee. As far as the strategic planning goes, just a couple of things to note for the 3 years of what we've been doing. We've made strides in the Devils Lake branding through our videography and photography promotions that we pushed out. We're working really hard to create monthly creative stories for different things to do for families as well as the outdoors. We've expanded our visitor center and our gift shop to give people a place to go to purchase merchandise. We worked with Creel Bay Golf Course to expand some recreational rentals. They have a dock and landing that they're putting in this spring for boating, so you can boat up and golf if you want, or you can boat up and get a beverage and a pizza. And now you'll also be able to have the opportunity to rent kayaks and paddle boards or paddle boats as well. And they'll hope to expand that into paddle boards and more in the future as it becomes more popular. we started collecting the county taxes, which was on there. And one of our internal things that we were working on was to implement what's called a CRM system. So it's just being able to keep track of everything that we do internally. So we've got training on that. It was a great time to do that in 2020. So we're rolling on that. Back to the other book, which is the annual report for 2020. A couple of things to note. I'm going to go through a few pages here. It pretty much stays the same every year with the changes that we've implemented. So page 6 is our 2020 budget overview for the year of what we started to do in 2020. We had to, in March, pretty much put a halt on everything that we were doing and pulled any advertising that we could. A lot of contracts were still in place, so we had to fulfill those. But we pulled where we could just to see where we were going to remain and what we could end up spending and not take such a huge cut. We tried to remain positive. All of our events were canceled. We had 2 in 2020. We had Sugarfest in February, and then we had a golf tournament for the Chamber of Commerce, which actually had to be rescheduled because it was a thunderstorm. So we were able to do that. So we tried to think positively, and we implemented 3 drive-in movies for the community, which were an awesome hit. We did a virtual fishing contest instead of our normal chamber fishing contest. And then we held the Let It Glow Christmas event, which was driving around for all of the Christmas lights, and you got to vote on that. As far as our traveling goes and sports shows, everything was pretty much canceled, and we didn't hit pretty much any of them in 2020. So that saved us some money, but we lost a little bit on the promotions for that.
Susie?
Yeah.
Just because I can see you're on this page in this
Yeah.
booklet. Is this Little Rock, Arkansas?
Yes.
Weird.
It is weird. Yeah. But we are.
Number 8 on the top 15 places to search for Devil's Lake or visit devilslakend.com, Little Rock, Arkansas.
We are tied with the economic development website at the moment, so I'm not sure if that has something to do with it or not. And I know we did have some Arkansas visitors here as well, so I don't know how that kind of played into that. Yeah, but yeah, there's a few of those on there that are kind of interesting. We fared pretty well, like I said, for 2020. Our businesses didn't take as big of a hit on a generality basis versus a lot of the other cities in the state. The Canadian border actually helped us versus hurting us. We got a lot of traffic here in from the Midwest in different areas because they would normally take a trip to Canada and they couldn't do that. So they chose Devil's Lake as their destination instead. And I can tell you out of Grams Island State Park, they had the highest camper count in the state in 2020, and they showed a 24% increase over 2018. And that's without having the Canadians there as well. So we were pretty popular.
They added a ton of sites this year, didn't they?
No, they didn't. They had added all their full service with their sewer sites a few years ago. Yeah. And in fact, all of their group sites, they could only put 1 camper on. You couldn't rent them as group sites last year. They could only be single use. So they saw their weekends are usually full, and then they saw during the weekdays they were full every day as well. So they had 47 states that they brought into Grams Island last year too. As far as our marketing efforts went, we really geared the message in 2020 as when you're ready to travel again, because we didn't really want to push people to come here. And then slowly we implemented our safety travel measures, trying to get the word out to the travelers what to do and what to expect when you got here and how to keep everyone safe. And then now we're kind of back on fully with marketing the area. North Dakota Tourism came out with some really great in-state co-op opportunities that we were able to piggyback on, which was great for us. And we also hosted a couple of major travel bloggers last year as well that we got some recognition for. On page 13, I always like to pull some of our top social media posts just to see what geared well for the year. And this year seemed to be Big Fish. Those were kind of our biggest things that people wanted to see. We've really been pushing the visitor experience with the hashtag Devil's Lake ND. So we always like to see what people are doing while they're here and what they're taking advantage of. So we'd like to push that out as well. Our website statistics are on page 15, which we were just kind of talking about. It is interesting to see, our top 15 cities that people are coming to our website. Chicago has been #1 for the past couple of years. 2018, it was #2. I gear that towards a lot of the winter fishing, but also North Dakota Tourism has been pushing a lot of marketing into that area. And so I think they're driving a lot of the traffic to our website as well. I know this coming year, they're going to be in the train station. They're going to have a train route in Chicago, and then they're pushing a lot of marketing there as well. So that's interesting to me. And then it just kind of breaks it down. Desktop and mobile visits to our website is always something that we take a look at as well. It just goes to show that on the mobile, they're looking at us while they're already here. So we want to make sure that we're pushing out viable information for things to do while they're in the area. And the other thing to note is our website page views. We had an increase of 44% from 2020 versus 2019. We had over 357,000 page views on our website. So we had a lot of people that were looking at us. I gear that towards the tourism, but I also gear that towards the chamber side of things, because we really pushed all of the COVID information out to the local residents and businesses. And so I gear a lot of that towards that as well. We budgeted very conservatively for this coming year, and that all starts on page 18. We didn't know with COVID where we were going to be. We didn't know where we were going to be with the county tax collections as well. And so we put together a very conservative budget, and then you'll see a line item, which I get teased for once in a while, on the miscellaneous advertising, and we threw some money into there. And that was money that we were going to utilize as time went on. If we had the funding, we could utilize that just to see where we were at. Something fun that we were able to get into as one of those add-ons is the NCHC hockey pod. If you guys watch hockey at all, they pulled all the games together in December in Omaha. Now they had all the teams in one place. So we got in on advertising for all of the games for UND, and then we added for an additional $1,000 all the other games that were in Omaha. And then Midco turned around and added a ton of additional areas to the viewing. So they got in on like Kansas and Colorado, and we were in a lot of different markets. Our website hits in December versus the December before tripled. And what I found really interesting is I graphed out when all the games were on TV, and when UND played, we had a huge spike when UND was playing any of the games. But when any of the other teams were playing, our spikes tripled. So we were getting a lot more recognition. The UND games were good, but we were getting a lot of people that were coming in and looking at us while the other games were being played. So we had a commercial, and then we had what's called an element. So every time they took a period break, it was sponsored by Devil's Lake Tourism, and we told them to go to our website for updated fishing and ice information. I think that's where those hits were coming in, because they wanted to know a little bit more about Devil's Lake. And they were all sick of us by the time December was over. But it was a really good campaign for us. So something I wanted, Our advertising breakdown is on 19. I'm not going to go through that. I'll bore you to pieces. If you have any questions on anything that we're doing, please let me know. As far as our traditional media goes, we always like to break the pie, so to say, and make sure we're in all the different areas as far as radio, print, magazines, TV, that sort of thing. A couple of fun things that we're doing this year. We added a couple of different events and different things that we're doing. So we're partnering with Johnny Candle. He'll be putting on 6 Facebook Live seminars for us starting in May. So if you're interested to learn a little bit more, you can tune into those. And we're also partnering with Lake Region State College for a high school recruiting event. So we're going to target those high schoolers that love fishing, and we're going to get them in. They're going to get a tour of the campus, see what they can come to school here for. We're going to feed them. And then on Saturday, they're going to do a virtual, so to say, fishing tournament out on the lake for scholarships and a few other things. So hopefully we'll continue that, and we'll get more momentum as time goes on. I also broke down the areas of our marketing by month. So you can see what we're doing and when, and then all of our big travel events, which the majority of them were unfortunately canceled for 2020 and 2021, and then also our different events. So last but not least, I want to mention our Facebook stats. We were down a little bit as far as our daily impressions goes. That has to do with the political year. A lot of people take out of social media when it's a big political year because there's so much going on. So we're not really worried about that. We still had over 2 million in impressions throughout 2020, so that's good. We are also gearing our marketing this year towards Google. So a couple of years ago, the CVBs were able to basically take your town on Google. So I claimed Devil's Lake as our town for the CVB. And why that's important is there was only 3 towns in the state that were able to do that before they shut it off. And it's us, Dickinson, and Fargo. So if you ever pull up Google and type in Devil's Lake, North Dakota, on the right-hand side is a thing called the Knowledge Panel. And that Knowledge Panel has the map of the area and just like the Wikipedia things about Devil's Lake. But there's also different things that can be posted in there, such as itineraries to the area, fishing reports, events, anything relating to Devil's Lake and the things to do here. I now have the ability to do that. The unfortunate thing about it is they only last 7 or 14 days. So you really got to be on top of your game posting that information out. And so we've been trying and calling it Tech Tuesday and going in every Tuesday and making sure we're at least populating that with a couple of things. So when you go somewhere like Minneapolis for a family vacation, you don't pull up Facebook to see what there is to do. You pull up Google, right? Type in where you're at and look for information. So we're trying to populate that a little bit more. And then today, something fun that I'm really excited about is we had a company called C-Source that we are signing on with, and it's really creepy. But C-Source is a company that tracks GPS data on your cell phone, so everybody travels with their cell phone, and it also tracks credit card spending. So we're going to purchase 3 years of historical data, and we're going to implement that and get all the dashboards for that. So right now, you know, all the website stuff is really important to us, but that's all who's looking at us. This will give us some insight onto who's actually here spending money coming to our city. So it's just a piece of the pie. It's not everybody. They work with most of the credit card companies and what have you, and we can break it down by the hotels, the resorts. We can, you know, if we want to track, we can track White Horse Hill. We can track anything downtown or the sports center. And where I think that's going to come in handy is we're being asked constantly on the economic impact of a lot of like the events and stuff that are coming into the area. And we can also break that down by days, weekends, quarters, that sort of thing. So we can kind of look historically on what is going good for us. So excited about that. Like I said, it's kind of creepy, but excited to get some of that data. So we signed on with that a little bit early so we can implement that and look at that data to start budgeting for next year. So, in a nutshell, really quick, because I didn't want to take too much time, that was our report for the year. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer anything.
Really, really nice work, Susie. Thank you and your staff and everybody. A lot of great information.
All the photography in that 2020 annual report was new photography that we were able to take this year. Something else that we're offering to our chamber members and our hotels, anybody that pays into the tax, when we get to somewhere and they invite us in and we can take some photographs and what have you, we're also taking those photos and giving them to the businesses so they can use it. And then we're putting them on their Google pages as well.